So I never thought I'd actually make this video because I thought it would be like too boring. It's like so stereotypical of something that so many YouTubers do. But I did get a couple requests, and I have got a few requests over the years on my original channel. So in this video I'm going to share my top 10 favorite people who have influenced me the most in my own life, and I will also be sharing my top 5 favorite books of all time that has impacted my self-development the most. So this is in no particular order, but the first guy that comes to mind is Elliott Hulse. So Elliott Hulse is actually one of my favorite YouTubers of all time, and I actually started watching his videos like, fuck, I don't even know, maybe like 7 years ago or something like that. So Elliott Hulse's most known channel is called Strength Camp, but it was his second channel that I got more attracted to, where he shared more of his philosophical ideas. Elliott Hulse is where I first learnt about like how important the body is, right? The body is the mind. That's when I started learning about bioenergetics and how a lot of trauma and neurosis and anxiety and depression actually resides in the body, right? To me now it's so common sense, but back then it was like so mind-blowing because I had no idea. Like it looks so weird seeing him do his like bioenergetic active meditation things.
You want to make a loud sound.
It's weird, but it works. But from Ellie in particular, I remember learning a lot about how to build confidence, overcoming social anxiety, and a lot of my life philosophies actually stem from Elliott Hulse's teachings, especially with overcoming social anxiety and depression and all these kind of things. For example, one of my latest videos was about the hero's journey, which I actually originally heard from Elliott Hulse. I think I heard about the concept before, but it was from Elliott that he explained it in such a practical way, and this is when I started learning about how metaphors and symbols and mythologies aren't just fairy tale, mythical, ethereal kind of wishy-washy shit, you know what I mean? Like it can actually be very practical, and you can ground that wisdom into your reality. So yeah, I've learnt a lot from Elliott, and I just remember binging on his videos for a long time. Like I don't watch his stuff too much nowadays, but he was definitely an integral part of my journey. Number 2, Tony Robbins. Like what can you say about this guy? He's a big dude, big ambition, he's got a big heart. He's like the king of all self-help gurus in my eyes, which is ironic because they made a documentary on him on Netflix entitled I'm Not Your Guru. But what blows my mind about Tony Robbins is that just how quick and effective he can get results in people. He's had over 1,000 people call him because they're going to commit suicide, and he hasn't lost one, touch wood as he says. And he's gotten people out of like really severe psychiatric disorders and depressions and anxiety, like really hardcore crises, and in such a short period of time. It's absolutely mind-blowing. Like this is the guy who's like never been to university, he hasn't had any like academic training as far as I'm aware, but he's the one teaching psychiatrists and psychologists and all of these like, you know, high-level people. So he inspired me a lot. That's like, hey, I don't actually have to get all these qualifications to help people and get results, and because that's all that matters in the end, right? It's getting results. Like I remember seeing a video of this guy who has had a hardcore stuttering problem his whole life, and then Tony Robbins comes in and like something about 7 minutes or less, he just boom gets to the root cause of the problem, and then he's able to let it go and overcome his stuttering problem, which was fucking amazing, man. Like the things that this guy does, like you just watch his videos on the seminar and like he can go. I'm just gonna stop now. Just if you haven't heard of Tony Robbins, go search that shit up because he is like, he's superhuman. He is something else entirely. Number 3, Robert Greene. So Robert Greene is known as the author of the 48 Laws of Power, and also the Art of Seduction, Mastery, the 50th Law, and like among others. I haven't actually read the 48 Laws of Power. It's still on my to-do list, but it was his book Mastery that completely changed my life and made me reevaluate how I see humans, you know what I mean, and how to go on this path and be a master of what you do. He was the kind of person who was like absolutely sick of the majority of like the self-help community because it was all fluff and airy-fairy and not very practical, and it wasn't like going to the core and saying it how it is. So I love his approach. Like he doesn't beat around the bush. He has a very no bullshit approach to these kind of topics, and he has a very deep understanding of human nature. Now, human beings in this power-hungry society can be very nasty. There's a lot of psychological mechanics in play that a lot of people in power use that if you're not aware of, they can take advantage of you, and then you're fucked. Number 4, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, the first thing that comes to mind when I think of success is Arnold Schwarzenegger, without a doubt. He was an Austrian farm boy that moved to America, became famous for lifting weights, became the biggest bodybuilder of all time, a sport that was not popular at all when he got into it. And then he wanted to become a famous leading Hollywood star, even though his English was shit and not many people could understand him. And not many people know this, but he became a millionaire before he started making money in Hollywood by doing real estate. Became one of the biggest blockbuster Hollywood stars of all time. And then after all that, he's like, you know what? I want to be governor of California. And he married a fucking Kennedy. And he did it. Like, do you know how many fucking lifetimes it would take to do what he did? And like, he was my favorite actor of all time when I was a kid. Terminator 2 is still one of my favorite movies of all time. And now I respect him because of completely different reasons. But man, what else do you need to say, man? Arnie, he's the man. Number 5, Leo Gura from actualize.org. Arguably the most influential self-help channel in my life. I like Leo because he's a very rational, analytical, grounded guy, but he can explain spiritual and mystical ideas in a way that my rational brain is satisfied with, if you know what I mean. He's made videos on all sorts of topics, but he explained concepts to me that I never really looked at from that angle before, especially on like religion, spirituality, science, rationality, like just shit that I never really questioned. And the way he goes about it is just like really thorough and mind-blowing. And the fact that he can make like an hour-long video in one take flawlessly, basically, and it's like, I don't know, I'm just really impressed by what that guy's done on YouTube. Number 6, Tim Ferriss. The reason why he was so influential in my life was more because of his entrepreneurial knowledge and wisdom, especially from his book, The 4-Hour Work Week. That one changed my life a lot, which I'm going to talk about in my book recommendations. And also his podcast. I like his style of deconstructing masters in their field. And there's been many podcasts which have completely like just blown my mind open. Especially he interviewed Arnold Schwarzenegger twice. That's fucking amazing. I'll talk a little bit more about the 4-Hour Work Week a little bit later in this video, but yeah. Fun fact, he actually has a huge dose of mushrooms every year for his birthday to have an ego reset. I just thought that was interesting. Number 7, Aubrey Marcus. So Aubrey Marcus is, if I can single down the one person who put me over the edge to go to Peru and drink ayahuasca, it's Aubrey Marcus. He's a very successful businessman, and just what he's done with On It, which is an amazing company. I love their products. I discovered him through the Joe Rogan podcast, and he's one of my favorite JRE guests of all time. The way he blends like plant medicine, spirituality, and philosophical concepts together is just amazing, and that's why I always go back to him. He has an awesome podcast as well. And what I admire about Aubrey Marcus the most is how much positivity he's beaming, and he can always look at the positive side of things and has a very holistic, deep understanding of reality, I guess you could call it. Number 8, Joe Rogan. Like, there's a lot of mixed reviews on Joe Rogan. A lot of people hate him, a lot of people love him. I think he's an awesome guy. Of course I don't agree with everything he says, but I can't doubt that he's been a massive influence in my life. Like, I think a lot of vegans hate him, but then what you guys don't understand is like, he's a fucking comedian first and foremost. He's a trickster. He likes to troll people. He's the master troll, and he says shit to piss off vegans on purpose because he knows how much they get triggered. And it's just so mind-blowing of how they get so mad at him. Like, it's so obvious that he's fucking with you. But anyways, the Joe Rogan podcast is my favorite podcast of all time, and just the amount of, not just amount of guests, but the quality of guests from all walks of life has been amazing. And he's a masterful interviewer. He's incredible. The way he can adapt and keep things flowing and entertaining, but he's very analytical and critical, but open-minded, which is really good. But yeah, Joe Rogan and his podcast has undoubtedly changed my life forever, and I still listen to his podcast to this day all the time. It's my most listened to podcast of all time, easily. Like, Joe Rogan is where I first heard about like psychedelics and Terrence McKenna and like guests like Aubrey Marcus and Tim Ferriss, and he's like the hub of all these great people that have influenced my life. So I can't have a top 10 most influential people in my life without mentioning Joe Rogan. Number 9, Carl Jung. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I've like studied and read all his books and stuff like that, but it's more his ideas on the unconscious mind, which is like the foundation of my psychological understanding of humans, right? He's like the father of analytical psychology, I think that's what they call it. He also discovered the personal and the collective unconscious. He came up with the concept of archetypes, and he's the guy who's this guy is so deep. He looks at human beings that it's terrifying, but it's so true. Like, it resonates with me anyway, and he talks a lot about embodying the shadow and going deep into the unconscious and all these kind of things. Jung is a deep motherfucker that I will, maybe if you guys want, I can make like a video maybe of his ideas in the future. So if you want, just comment down below. And the people that I look up to most are heavily influenced by Jung, so you know, that tells you something. So number 10, Jordan Peterson. So I discovered Jordan Peterson maybe about, I don't know, 6 months ago or something, where he just kind of blew up. If you want to talk about Carl Jung, Jordan Peterson, he's studied Carl Jung for decades, right? He has a very deep understanding of his teachings. And even Peterson says that there's still so much to learn, because like Jung is so like terrifyingly deep. But Jordan really taught me and influenced me about how I think about archetypes, and have really made me dive deeper into Jung's teachings, right? And he's given me a broader perspective on religion and Christianity, because I was like so against it, but then the way he explained it and like the metaphorical meaning to it, like there's something there, you know, and it allows me to look at religion and just extract the wisdom from it and then leave the bullshit, because it's not religion that's dumb and bad and full of conflicts. It's fucking humans that ruin everything. Like, you know what I mean? You can take science and rationality and turn that into a very dangerous thing, because humans are very dogmatic by nature. It's not just religion. But yeah, Jordan Peterson, which again, I discovered through the Joe Rogan podcast. So this video has gone on a little bit longer than what I thought, but I will share quickly my 5 favorite books of all time that have made the biggest impact in my life. Bit of a warning, I am not a bookworm, and I haven't read like a whole lot of books like fucking Tai Lopez. Knowledge. But these books that I'm going to mention are very powerful books that many, if not all people, would agree with. Personally, I like listening more to audiobooks and podcasts. And speaking of, there's an affiliate link to audible.com where you can get a 30-day trial, and you can get like 1 free book. So it's worth checking out, and it helps this channel as well. Okay, so again, in no particular order, is Mastery by Greene, which I was talking about before, but this one really teaches you how to master your life, and like step by step. It will teach you what you have to go through, the things that you have to be willing to do, the people that you're gonna meet, and just things like this. Like, just, you can actually get it on Audible. So yeah, if you want that as your free book, go check it out. Click on the link. The second book is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. It was actually given to me by a friend in an ayahuasca retreat I went to 2 years ago, which completely changed my life in how I viewed life, pretty much, right? And the nature of suffering and depression, anxiety, right? Like, anxiety is you're living too much in the future. Depression is you're dwelling on the past, and it's all about being in the now, in the present, and that's all there is now. That's why it's called the present. So hippie, but it's so true, man. Like, this book is where I first started getting into the concept of mindfulness and meditation and being in the present. So go check it out if you haven't already. Third book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. This is a very short, easy to read book. Like, even though this book is a lot about entrepreneurship and how to get rich, and talks a lot about real estate and all that kind of stuff, but the reason why this book is on this list is how it made me change my mindset on how I think about money and success, right? It taught me how to make money work for you instead of you working for money. For example, instead of saying, I can't afford something, which as soon as you say that, you shut off your unconscious mind. It's like a statement, boom, period. Your brain's like, oh, I can't afford it. Okay, that's the end of that chapter. But if you say things like, how can I afford it? Like this open-ended question, then your unconscious mind starts searching through files and solutions like, how can I afford it? And then, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not as simple as just saying that one thing and like, okay, well, I have this solution, I'm gonna be rich now. But it's just the way of thinking. That's just one small, tiny example. Of course, I'm not rich, but fuck, I'm much better off than what I was 2 years ago. So it's definitely helped me, that's for sure. Number 4 is The 4-Hour Workweek. It's another entrepreneurship book, but Tim Ferriss, man, just the way he goes about things. Like, he's a very analytical, rational person, very scientifically minded, but he's the one who taught me how to like leverage your time, how to outsource, and essentially how to just travel the world. And like, you don't, like, he teaches you, like, you don't have to make a whole lot of money to be able to be financially free, but it's like how smart you are in spending your money, you know, go on the mindset and very, very practical tips, and go step by step on how to have that financial freedom. Of course, it's a lot easier said than done, which is why most people don't do it. But if you follow his philosophy and you execute the lessons that he teaches, then you'll be alright. So number 5 is Changing the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. So this guy blends science and rational thinking with like mysticism really well. And he's the one that I learnt about things like the law of attraction and reprogramming your subconscious mind, but in a very practical, grounded way with like scientific studies to back up his claims and things like that. And he goes really deep into like quantum physics and biology. It's a very heady kind of read, and it can be very full on for some people, especially if you haven't had background in biology, neuroscience, quantum physics and stuff like that. Like, because I studied a lot about the foundation of this kind of stuff, it wasn't that hard for me to grasp, but a lot of people, like my friend, you have to reread it like, you know, 3 times to sink in. But it is definitely worth a read. And yeah, I'll leave links in the description below where you can get these books, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of audibles on a few of them as well. But that's it, guys. This video went for a lot longer than what I thought, but who knows, maybe this can help you and, you know, give you some resources on what to study. I hope you enjoyed it. I doubt I'll be making videos like this unless it gets requested enough, but I doubt it. I don't want to get back to my original plans and what I want to do with this channel, but I've got some really cool stuff planned. There will be some more creative videos where it's not just me talking in front of a camera, but you guys will know about that in the future. So that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Remember to like and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and of course share this video with a friend that you think could benefit from these recommendations. This really does help this channel grow. And of course, if you want to get any of these books, go to the description box and click on the affiliate link, because then that really helps support this channel. If you guys have any requests for a future video or topic that you want me to cover on this channel, don't hesitate, just comment below. If it gets requested enough, or if I think it's a really good idea, then who knows, I might make a video on it just like this one. Yeah, have an awesome day, and I'll catch you on the next video. Peace.